Welcome to another episode of the Lone Recruiter Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Clemenson, and today we have the wonderful Laura Hopes from Hopes Consult. Laura, welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to have you on. I think most of our listeners will know who you are because you're everywhere on LinkedIn, where I see you every single day, whether you're doing the training and development, whether you're doing the wellness stuff, and it resonates a lot with our listeners because that's kind of what we're about too. So it's exciting to have you on today. For everyone at home, I asked Laura, what is the number one thing people are asking her for at the moment with regards to training and development? And she said, without any hesitation, 99.9% of the people coming to me for training are asking for help with business development. No surprises there. We've had a couple of really easy years. And then as of mid last year and rates and inflation went up and business started to tighten up, I think that's when we started going, this is not as easy as it was. So today, Laura is going to talk to us about what she delivers to her clients around business development, what those programs look like, what are the 4 to 5 things that she looks out for. So Laura, I'd love you to take over.
Okay. Yeah, I literally haven't run any other training this year.
Wow.
Genuinely, everything has been BD focused in some capacity. Right. And it's really interesting because it actually there hasn't been a huge amount. Well, I actually haven't been putting a lot of emphasis on like the actual guts of the call. A lot of the training I've been doing is how do we create warmth and familiarity with a prospect market before we even pick up the phone?
Right.
And actually, how do we create a strategy and a bit of a follow-up process to ensure that we're building relationships with people over time, as opposed to just focusing on, can I reverse market this candidate and get a quick win? So actually a lot of the training we've been doing is working with recruiters to really look at, well, what are you doing to actually add some value to create warmth with your prospects so that by the time you pick up the phone, there's some level of familiarity there. And how are you following this through so that you're not focusing on just winning every single phone call, you're focusing on actually winning a prospect over time rather than just picking up a job to work.
So on that, is this like a catch-all strategy whereby you might go, you're an expert in this, broadcast that, get activity around that, and then go and start trying to engage with prospects? Or are you going granular, like, I want to work with them, so I'm going to do a strategy around them, and then I'm going to come to them? Like, is it both?
Yeah, like actually a little bit of both. I think the most underutilized part of the business development process is the research. Like I literally try and tell people every day, like, research is still BD. Like, it's a huge part of your BD. But I still see consultants thinking like, if I'm not on the phone, I'm not doing business development. And so I'm really trying to work with people on creating a really targeted BD approach, but then looking at, like, how do I create some kind of value add that is going to help that prospect market? And so rather than kind of individualize to each prospect, what I tend to ask people to do is look at, okay, what are your prospects' challenges at the moment? And how can you create some kind of collateral or article, or what research can you do that will help them to meet some of those challenges, or is at least going to pique their interest so that you're not just selling to them all the time. So it's more about getting that front end kind of strategy in place to be able to go, okay, cool, this is my prospect market. This is something of value that I know meets a challenge that they're facing at the moment. That's going to be my first connection point with them. And then I can kind of build from there on actually selling my product and my service. Because I think what a lot of people forget in our industry is that we're selling twofold, aren't we? We're selling a product and we're selling a service. And so selling your product is essentially reverse marketing, but selling your service is everything you do through that pipeline to get a customer engaged.
I love that, because I was brought up in the whole sell a CV, concept, and I still think there's so much value in that. But I love what you've just done there, and you've pulled that apart to say, that's fine, that's selling a product, but what's the extra stuff you're selling? What's the service? what's the love really, right? Like what's the value add?
Like, what's it
Right.
going to look like to work with me? And I think perm consultants can still reverse market successfully, right? Because if there's a job there and there's a candidate and there's a match, that's a great in. But temp consultants, it's so much harder. It is more relationship focused because the client needs to phone you proactively in advance of the need. And so
Yeah.
I would say if you're a temp or contract recruiter at the moment, your business development absolutely has to be focused around your service and being able to showcase that your service would be stronger than your competitors. And we need to do that through the BD process, in my opinion.
And what sort of service are they looking for? Do you have any ideas around that?
I just think, especially if you're dealing, so I always try and make this differentiation as well. I think line managers still very talent focused. They care about the people that turn up and work in their division. I think if your prospect market is made up of people in talent acquisition, you just have to be able to offer something that stands apart. You have to be able to give insight, intel, some sort of value, because typically we know people in talent acquisition recruiting across a multitude of different role types, multitude of client bases, and therefore are dealing with a huge amount of recruiters. Just selling candidates to them is just like, it's just going to fall by the wayside. But if you can actually just start to connect with them of like, hey, we're running this webinar. Hey, I've just put together this 2-pager document on this. Oh, I just saw this article. Like, if we can just start to create some familiarity through the value, that's a much better in with people in TA than line, in my opinion. Line, I think, still very
if you're now, and this is all gold. I hear this and go, this is absolute gold. But do you know what? Where some people are going to struggle with this, right? Is highly KPI driven environments, which they still exist, right? And they're there for a reason. But how do you quantify this stuff? Because at the end of the day, if someone's done the most amazing, whatever you've just described there, whether it be adding value, insights, whatever, like they're not going to their manager at the end of the day and going, hey, I got something to prove for it. You know what I mean? Like it will be perceived as quite fluffy to a lot of people. So are you training the managers as much as the juniors in these scenarios? It's almost like when you've got a bad puppy dog, you got to train the owners, right?
Totally. It's like, where does this stem from? So this is a great question. I have asked every single manager to sit in on any training I've run this year.
Yeah.
And I will happily push back on I actually am a massive fan of KPI environments, but I think they need to be used more holistically and be more tailored to work with a consultant on their particular fill rate and their average deal value, right?
Yes.
And then we work it back. I think they have a huge value. KPI free environments, I don't understand how people know what they need to be doing, especially newer consultants. So I'm a massive fan of that. But yes, I absolutely recommend line managers sit in all of my training sessions. My clients are in my sessions because I need them to hear what I'm saying, because they're going to be the ones going away to implement. The other thing I will say with that, because I think this is a question I get a lot, is people saying to me like, how am I going to have time to put together X, Y, and Z, right? And I did a LinkedIn post on this the other day. It doesn't have to be fancy, this stuff, right? I put together a day plan the other day and posted it out on my LinkedIn. I put it together on Word. I used a table. It's very, very rudimentary, but I had so many people message me being like, I've been looking for something like this. Is this awesome? People don't need the fancy. They care about the actual content. So if you could create like a 1-page value add on the 3 things candidates are looking for in the market at the moment and how you interview on them, right? It's just to be used as an in. So if you could stick that on Word, put your logo on it, whatever, literally.
You're 100% right. We all see, like, the great example of this is something I've done, which I can tell you it worked, and it's just going to support what you just said. But we all know Hayes do their salary survey stuff, right? Every year, the Hayes salary guide, or whatever you want to call it. It's very glossy. It's high end. It's a great document. And we all wish we had one, right? With our branding on it. I remember a client saying to me, Brett, you do this pocket of the market so well. I just need to know what the salaries are. And I went, fuck, I don't want to put
5
things together.
salaries.
So what I did was I just went back over the 12 months of data, put it into a spreadsheet, just went years of experience, location, salaries that we placed, and went, this is just raw data. It was just 3 columns, sent it to the client. He's like, dude, that's perfect. And I thought, that's actually a great post. So I put it on as a screenshot of these 3 lines on my LinkedIn. I don't think I've had a post go better than just that.
This is what I mean. People care about the data. Like, the fluff is all lovely.
Yeah.
But if someone sent me that versus a 50-page document, I know what I would have time to read, right? So less is more with this stuff. And I think getting smart about that. It doesn't have to be created on Canva, doesn't have to be super shiny. It's just got to give people insight that they are currently challenged with. And so I think if you are in a KPI environment, if you spend half hour knocking something up and then you did 100 outreach calls with that and that information and got your details in front of them, you can still very much hit your KPIs, but you're offering something of value rather than selling, and it will come back tenfold. And I think there does need to be a level of patience with creating a pipeline. Like, whatever you're doing now might pay off in 6 months, but you've just got to start doing it, because you'll get quick wins along the way. But this kind of spray and pray approach, like, it's just not sustainable for people anymore. And it's why people leave our industry. It's because they see BD as being like, every single call is a failure unless I pick up a job. And we just know that that's not the reality, but we put so much pressure on people for every single call.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think the older recruiters obviously understand that, and it's the younger ones that really struggle with it or feel the pressure of that. But I liken it to gold panning. Like, you're not going to get gold in every pan. We're just looking for it. We're just looking for, where's the gold? Oh, it's over there. Cool. You'll get 99 no's for every one most of the time, and fine. Yeah. Mate, this is absolute gold. Are there any other things you're looking at, or are there any other areas that you're looking at the moment that are helping people with business development?
I think the most useful one seems to be at the moment objection handling.
Right.
And not fixing every objection, but actually just having a bit of a process that if someone says, no, I work with another agency, we don't use Recruiter, whatever, they've got a way of exploring that further to just make sure that they are covering all bases. And I've been doing a lot of workshopping with people around that, because most people are just not prepared, and then they do what I call okay, thanks, bye, because they just don't know how to open back up the conversation. So it's not about fixing every objection, but just giving people a bit of a process of like, can I open this back up, and can I offer some other alternatives, and how do I explore this further? I guess that's been a big part of the BD stuff that we've been working on.
Would you say that's the number one thing at the moment? Is that objections handling?
Yes, I would. If I could have 2.
Okay, yes.
I would say objection handling is a massive one.
Yep.
Because people just haven't had objections. And the second one, I would say, is starting to push proactive client meetings again. I'm just such an advocate of getting in front of people before they need something. And that comes with its own objections.
Yep.
But I would say that is where I'm pushing a lot of people to put their emphasis at the moment. Meeting before there's a job there. Start building your network.
I love that. And then that also feeds right back into what you were talking about at the start, which is if you have some sort of collateral, something to say, some sort of insight, some sort of data, that's your proactive
and then
meeting,
you
right?
can focus on selling the service rather than just a candidate. You've got 45 minutes then to build that connection and focus on the service element rather than just like, have a candidate for a job, does that match or not? It's like, well, actually, this is just the way that I work. These are the real special parts of our process. Like, we've been given permission. And I think a lot of people find it easier to sell when they're actually in front of someone. We know that communication is, 70% body language. Like, that's where the beauty is. So it's about using everything you're doing just to get in front of the person, and then that's when you can really sell.
I love it. I feel like we've covered a lot and nothing at the same time, because I want to talk to you for 2 more hours, 3 more hours, but we can't.
My happy place. I'm getting so intense about it. I'm like,
I
how
love
do I fit
it.
in? I
I love it. Do you know what though? I'm going to hold it there, because for me, that was absolute perfection. Very to the point. I think everyone's going to understand what needs to be done. And I guess that the point of this is if you do want some more depth on it, I'm sure Laura's got a ton of information on her LinkedIn, so go and check it out, go and follow her, come and say hi. If you enjoyed this episode, tell her, say thank you, because she's doing this out of the goodness of her heart.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
That was
you so
amazing.
much for having me.
All good.
Cheers, Brett.
Yes, thank you. Guys, like it, share it, subscribe, do what you need to do for a podcast to grow. It really does help us. As always, have an amazing day. May all your deals come true.